Ever hear a true crime story that just feels, well, almost too Hollywood, like it had to be made up?
Oh, absolutely. All the time.
Well, today, we're kind of flipping that. We're diving into a real-life LA story from 1945. So bizarre, so chilling, it directly inspired a film noir classic. Just a few years later, He Walked by Night.
Yeah, and what's really wild is, unlike a lot of movies based on, books or articles, this one was basically ripped straight from the headlines.
Right, like happening in real time.
Exactly. It captured something raw, unsettling happening right then.
And the guy at the center of it all was William Erwin Walker. Sometimes just Erwin.
Yeah.
But he got stuck with the nickname Machine Gun Walker.
A pretty grim nickname.
Yeah. And look, our goal here isn't to, glorify him or pass judgment. It's more about digging into the history, this specific event, and seeing how it ended up shaping, well, a lot of the police shows we watch today.
It's a really fascinating link because Walker's crime spree, it lasted, a year and a half? Started small, theft, but then escalated. Robberies, shootings, a murder. And the whole time he just seemed like a normal guy on the outside. Blending in.
Just melting into the background. That's the creepy part. So that's our mission for this deep dive. Get the real story behind He Walked by Night and track its surprising legacy. Seriously, if you watch stuff like Law & Order or CSI, NCIS...
Many of those procedurals.
Yeah, you might be really surprised how this one, kind of obscure case, actually helps shape them. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Who was this guy before he became Machine Gun Walker?
Well, by all accounts, his early life was pretty ordinary. Born in Glendale, California in 1917, seems like a standard American childhood.
Okay.
His dad was an engineer for LA County flood control. His uncle was actually a prominent lawyer in LA, later became a judge, so, a solid middle-class family.
Stable background, yeah. Any particular interests or hobbies?
He was apparently really into radio work and sports. After high school, he did a year at Caltech.
Oh, Caltech, okay, so pretty bright.
Seems like it. And then, interestingly, he worked as a radio operator for the Glendale Police Department.
Wow. Okay, that's ironic, considering,
Right.
foreshadowing. Working with the cops before everything else.
Exactly. And people who knew him back then, they said he lived with his family, seemed gentle, affectionate, considerate. The quote was, no bother to anyone.
Just a regular young guy.
Pretty much, on a totally normal path. You wouldn't have predicted anything else.
So what happened? What was the big shift? The turning point?
It really seems to come down to his time in the military. World War II, he joined the Army in 41, served as a lieutenant in the South Pacific. His specialty was radar repair.
Okay.
But his time on Wake Island, that was June to November 1944. That seems crucial.
How so? What went down there?
Well, reports say he saw just countless gruesome deaths, constant exposure to mortality on a huge scale.
Yeah, that kind of trauma. It changes people. Profoundly.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And then there was
yeah.
another specific incident, right? On Light Island. That seems to have hit him incredibly hard.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Okay, so he was responsible for the safety of, I think, 85 men. He followed orders, returned to his ship one day, didn't leave a guard behind for the guys still on shore. And the next day, a surprise attack. Many of those men were killed.
Oh, God. That's unimaginable. To feel responsible for that. And wasn't his best friend involved, too?
Yes. His friend was badly injured, paralyzed. There's some confusion. Apparently, Walker initially thought his friend had died, but later said he spoke to him after the war. But the point is, even though an official inquiry cleared Walker and the other officers of any, lapse in duty
He blamed himself.
completely, he apparently never forgave himself for the attack, for his friend's paralysis. It sounds like the guilt just consumed him.
Yeah, you can see how that could break someone.
Yeah.
Feeling unfit for duty. He got released from active duty December 44, came back stateside around March 45. But being home didn't fix it.
No, not at all. By July 45, he's still technically on active duty, even gets promoted, but his whole demeanor, it's changed radically. And this is when the criminal stuff starts. Small at first.
Like breaking into a garage, right?
Yeah.
Stealing tools.
Yeah, exactly. Tools, a voltmeter, a radio tuner, things you could use or sell, especially with the electronics boom happening then. But it escalated quickly. By August 45, still in the Army technically, he hits an Army ordnance warehouse.
And this is where Machine Gun Walker really starts to make sense.
Oh yeah, he stole a lot of firepower. 6 Thompson machine guns, a dozen .45 automatics, 6.38 revolvers, plus ammo, holsters, clips, a serious arsenal.
Wow.
Then, November 45, he gets his discharge, and almost immediately, things ramp up again. Steals a car, swaps the plates, uses it to haul stolen goods.
And he wasn't just hitting military places. He was going after the entertainment industry too, right? Which was huge in L.A.
Exactly. Amplifiers, electronics, records, projectors, recording turntables, cameras.
Yeah.
Stealing from record companies, film companies, stuff that was everywhere in L.A. in the 40s.
And what about his family during this time?
Total estrangement. They said when he came back, he was just different. Morose, taciturn, brooding, melancholy, secretive, even rough with kids sometimes, just a complete 180 from the guy they knew.
Wow.
He quit jobs, refused to take his old police radio job back, and yeah, like you said, started carrying a machine gun regularly.
So he's armed, isolated, and deep into crime. Where's he operating from?
He rented a garage, used it like a base of operations, burglaries, armed robberies, cracking safes, and he was making serious money doing it.
How much are we talking?
Reports say around $70,000 back then.
Which today would be?
Well over $1 million in 2023 money. So yeah, this wasn't petty theft anymore. It was organized and lucrative.
You can't keep that up forever. The police started closing in.
They did. By April 46, they were getting warmer, mostly because of the type of stuff being stolen. All that recording and film gear, it was specific.
Right.
So they set up a stakeout. They figured he'd try to fence some of the stolen goods, and they were right.
And that led to a confrontation.
Oh, yeah. 2 detectives moved in when Walker showed up. A shootout started. Walker actually wounded one of the officers.
And got hit himself.
Yep, he was wounded too. But somehow, incredibly, he got away.
And how he got away. That's the really crazy part, almost cinematic.
It really is. He ducks into the street gutters, finds an opening to a storm drain, and just disappears into the LA sewer system.
No way.
Yeah. He knew his way around down there well enough, even wounded, to pop up somewhere else and just vanish. Completely evaded capture.
That's unbelievable. Like something out of the movie they made about him. That detail had to be a big part of the story, right?
Oh, absolutely. That sewer escape became a defining part of the Machine Gun Walker mythos.
Right.
And yeah, it definitely made its way into the film.
Just incredible. But sadly, that wasn't the end of the violence. Fast forward a bit to early June 1946.
Right. June 5th. This is when things take the darkest turn, the event that really sealed his notoriety. Walker, he's 28 by now, he's planning to rob a safe at a meat market in Glendale. He'd even prepped it, cased the joint, cut the lock, put his own lock on, planning to come back later under cover of darkness.
Meticulous. But that's when he ran into Officer Lauren Cornwell Roosevelt. And there are different stories about how that encounter started.
Yeah, there are. Walker's version was. He's circling back to the store, sees this car, someone inside with a flashlight.
Yeah.
Officer Roosevelt. Walker claims Roosevelt asked for ID, questioned him. Walker says he gave some excuse about visiting his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And then, according to Walker, he just calmly drew his .45. Roosevelt went for his gun, but Walker shot him twice. Walker even tried to say Roosevelt fired first.
But Officer Roosevelt, before he died, he told a different story.
A very different story. Roosevelt said he was driving home, saw a car speeding on Los Feliz Boulevard, gave chase, pulled alongside, and Walker just opened fire on him repeatedly.
Which kind of fits with Walker maybe circling the block after tampering with the lock, right?
Yeah.
Trying to see if you'd been spotted.
Exactly. It highlights how tricky these things are, Memory, trauma, perspective. It all gets tangled.
And the physical evidence. Tragically, it seems to back up Roosevelt's account.
Yeah, the newspaper reports at the time said Roosevelt was hit by 9.45 caliber bullets. 9, which, as the papers pointed out, strongly suggested a Thompson machine gun was used, not just a pistol, which lines up with Roosevelt saying he was fired on multiple times from the other car.
And after this horrific shooting, Walker escapes again.
Same way as before, into the sewers. Vanished again. He had to abandon his car at the scene, though.
And the police found contraband in the car, including a machine gun. Neighbors heard the shots, of course. And crucially, Roosevelt lived long enough to give a description of Walker. That description would eventually lead to his capture.
But not immediately. He was on the run for months after killing an officer, still committing crimes.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? From June to December 46, he's a known killer, wanted, but he's still out there, making fake license plates, stealing more cars, robbing liquor stores, just brazen.
Maybe desperate. Or just thought he was untouchable. Could be a mix of both. Or just completely detached from reality at that point. But yeah, his luck finally ran out that December.
December 20th, right?
Yep. Police finally tracked him to an apartment on Argyle Avenue, which, interestingly, that block doesn't even exist anymore. It's part of a freeway on-ramp now.
Huh.
So 2 a.m., 3 detectives raid the apartment.
And it wasn't a quiet arrest, I take it.
No, definitely not. They wake Walker up. He immediately goes for his machine gun. There's a struggle. An officer shoots him twice in the shoulder. And that was it. Crime spree over.
Did he say anything when they caught him?
Yeah. Apparently, as they were cuffing him, he said something like, "All right, now you have me. Do a good job."
Chilling. And they found more stuff?
Oh, yeah. In the apartment nearby, more guns, tons of license plates, 3 stolen cars. One car even had a machine gun mounted near the driver's seat.
Mounted, wow.
Yeah. And Walker told them about this close call just the week before. Motorcycle cops had stopped him for something minor, didn't recognize him, let him go. He basically said if they had known who he was, it would have ended very differently. Violently.
Jeez. So after the arrest, the whole picture starts coming together.
It does. On the way to the hospital, and at the hospital, he confesses to everything. And then his parents come forward, revealing this family history of mental illness.
Right. So at the trial, he pled insanity.
Not guilty by reason of insanity. His parents testified, talking about how drastically he'd changed after the war. It sounded heartbreaking. But the judge didn't buy the insanity defense, found him legally sane.
And the verdict?
Guilty. Murder 1 for Officer Roosevelt, attempted murder for the detectives he shot at earlier. He got the death sentence for the murder.
And then something tragic happened with his father.
Yeah, really sad. After Walker had exhausted all his appeals, this was 1948, his father committed suicide. Just a devastating ripple effect from the whole thing.
It really is. But Walker himself, his story wasn't over yet. He didn't get executed right away.
No. He eventually got diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And then, 36 hours before he was scheduled to be executed, he tried to kill himself. That led to postponements, reprieves. It dragged on for years.
So where did he end up?
Maximum security mental hospital. And here's where it gets kind of weird. He apparently became a model prisoner.
Seriously. After everything.
Yeah. Learned the saxophone, apparently. Got privileges. He actually escaped once.
He did.
Briefly. Got caught pretty quickly. But somehow he got back into the model prisoner routine. They even let him mentor younger inmates, delinquents. It's unexpected, to say the least.
That is a bizarre twist. So what happened after the hospital?
Well, eventually he got transferred back to regular state prison. Then the governor commuted his death sentence to life, but without parole.
Okay, so life in prison.
Except the Supreme Court later struck down the without parole part of sentences like his. So suddenly, parole was back on the table. And in 1974, age 57, after about 27 years locked up, he was paroled.
Wow. After all that. And then...
Did he just disappear?
Pretty much. Reports say he legally changed his name immediately, found a job as a chemist, and just lived totally under the radar in complete obscurity until he died in 2008. He was 91 years old.
91. So he lived as a free man for, 34 years?
34 years. A quiet end to an incredibly violent and turbulent story. It kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even people who do terrible things can have these long, complex, often hidden later chapters.
Absolutely unbelievable life. And this whole saga, this is what directly inspired He Walked by Night. What was it about this case that grabbed Hollywood's attention so fast?
But part of it, especially for the production company Eagle Lion Films, was the focus on how the police tracked him down, the investigative techniques. That felt really fresh for movies back then.
Like a procedural, almost. Exactly. And they used mostly lesser-known actors, which was smart. It made it feel more real, almost documentary-like. You didn't have big stars distracting you, so it felt more like you were watching actual events unfold, like found footage or something. That was pretty innovative.
Creating that sense of realism. And that realism, that focus on procedure, it had a huge ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
On crime shows later on.
Massive. Because one of those lesser-known actors in the film was a guy named Jack Webb.
Jack Webb. From Dragnet.
The very same. He wasn't famous yet in 48, but playing a forensic scientist in He Walked by Night, seeing how they focused on the step-by-step police work. That experience is widely credited as the main inspiration for him creating Dragnet. First on radio in 49, then the iconic TV show.
Wow. So He Walked by Night, based on this real kind of obscure LA crime spree, basically paved the way for the entire police procedural genre we still watch constantly today.
In a very direct way, yes. That's the key takeaway, really. This one true story, adapted quickly into this film, planted the seeds for one of the biggest, most enduring genres in TV history. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It really is.
Yeah.
So beyond its historical importance, is the movie itself still good?
Yeah.
Like, worth watching today on its own merits?
Oh, definitely. Artistically, it's solid noir. It's got that dark, cynical atmosphere, the shadows, the moral ambiguity. Richard Basehart is fantastic as the Walker-inspired character, really captures that isolated, disturbed feeling.
Tight story.
Very tight, very focused. And yeah, it was lower budget, but it's considered a real cult classic. People sometimes compare it to bigger noir films, even something like Hitchcock's Spellbound. Maybe not in theme, but in quality.
Interesting. Spellbound is all psychological tension.
Right, and He Walked by Night has that too, but it balances it really well with the action, the procedural stuff. It's a great mix, still really compelling.
It's just amazing how these real-life events, even tragic ones, can just seep into our culture and shape the entertainment we consume, sometimes in ways we don't even realize. This deep dive really highlights that strange connection between true crime and Hollywood.